What if the final flames of Montségur did not mark the end of the Cathars, but the beginning of a secret that history was never meant to remember? Hidden among the windswept peaks of the Pyrenees, Montségur stands like a scar carved into the mountain, a place where whispers linger longer than echoes, and truth burns quietly beneath centuries of silence. Some say the Cathars died for their faith. Others believe they carried something far more dangerous, a relic, a gospel, a treasure too pure to survive the world that hunted them. But let's take a moment. Let's step back from the smoke and the sword. Imagine the year 1244, the fortress under siege, its defenders surrounded, their faith unbroken even as the flames rose higher. Tonight, we return to that mountain of sorrow and light, to follow the last footsteps of the Cathars and the secret they may have carried into eternity. Join me as we descend into the secret of Montségur, the Cathar treasure and the final flame. High upon a lonely mountain, where the wind carries whispers older than stone, there lies a fortress that once held the final breath of a faith too pure to survive. Imagine it now, in the hush of twilight. The Pyrenees rise around you like ancient guardians, their peaks veiled in mist that clings like forgotten dreams. The air is cool, laced with the scent of wild thyme and damp earth, carrying the faint echo of bells long silenced, Montségur, a name that lingers on the tongue like a prayer unspoken. Let us step back into this place, where history dissolves into shadow, and feel the weight of centuries pressing gently upon your chest. You stand at the base of the Pog, the rugged hill that cradles the ruins. The path upward is steep, worn smooth by pilgrims' feet and the relentless passage of time. Each step crunches softly underfoot, gravel shifting like the sands of an hourglass running low. As you ascend, the world below fades into a tapestry of valleys and rivers, silver threads weaving through the green haze of forests. The wind rises to meet you, a soft sigh that brushes your skin, carrying fragments of old songs, troubadour melodies perhaps, or the murmur of chants from souls who sought refuge here. The fortress appears suddenly, as if emerging from the fog of memory. Its walls, jagged and broken, stand defiant against the sky. Gray stone, etched with lichen in patterns like ancient runes, tells stories without words. Touch them, if you dare. The texture is rough, cold, unyielding, yet warmed by the sun's fleeting kiss. Cracked spiderweb across the surface, filled with silence where once voices echoed. Here, in this eyrie perched 1,000 meters high, the Cathars made their last stand. They were the pure ones, believers in a light that the world could not contain. But now only the wind speaks, swirling through empty archways, whispering of flames that danced long ago. Close your eyes and listen. The mist thickens, wrapping around you like a shroud of silk. It dampens the sounds of the present, muffling distant bird calls into mere suggestions of life. In this quiet, you can almost hear them, the echoes of forgotten prayers, soft incantations rising like smoke, invoking a god of goodness against the encroaching dark. The Cathars gathered here, in halls now open to the stars, sharing bread and water in rituals of simplicity. Their faith was a flame, delicate yet unquenchable, burning in defiance of the church's iron grip. But flames, as you know, cast shadows, and shadows grow hungry. The sun dips lower, painting the ruins in hues of amber and rose. Shadows lengthen across the courtyard, pooling in corners like spilled ink. Feel the chill seep in, a reminder that night approaches, bringing with it the ghosts of the past. Montségur was not always a ruin. It was a beacon, a sanctuary for those who rejected the material world's illusions. The Pyrenees mist rolls in thicker now, blurring the edges of stone and sky, as if the mountain itself breathes secrets. What visions might arise in this haze? Figures in white robes moving silently through the fog, their eyes reflecting an inner peace that no torment could shatter. Breathe deeply. The air tastes of pine and stone, crisp and ancient. It fills your lungs with the essence of endurance. The mountain has stood through storms and sieges, witnessing the rise and fall of empires. Yet here, at Montségur, something ended. A world of tolerance, of dualistic dreams where spirit triumphed over flesh. The final flame flickered out on these heights, consumed by pyres built by those who feared its purity. But in the fading light, questions linger like the last rays of sunset. What drove men and women to cling to this precipice, facing certain doom with serene faces? The wind picks up, rustling leaves that sound like pages turning in a forbidden book. As darkness gathers, the stars begin to pierce the veil above. They twinkle coldly, indifferent witnesses to human folly. Down in the valleys, lights flicker in distant villages, modern echoes of ancient hearths. But up here, solitude reigns. The mist swirls, carrying scents of rain yet to fall, and in its folds, you sense the presence of the lost. The Cathars' world was one of introspection, of seeking the divine spark within. Their end was not just a historical footnote, but a poetic tragedy, a flame snuffed out before it could illuminate the ages. Let the quiet envelop you. No rush of traffic, no clamor of crowds, only the soft rhythm of your breath mingling with the mountain's sigh. This is a place for sleep, for dreams where history unfolds like a slow river. Montségur invites you to wander its paths in your mind, to trace the outlines of walls that once sheltered heresy and hope. The ruins stand as a testament, not to defeat, but to the enduring mystery of belief. In the Pyrenees' embrace, time folds upon itself, and you are part of it all, a fleeting visitor in an eternal tale. The night deepens, stars wheeling overhead in silent procession. The mist lifts slightly, revealing the jagged silhouette against the moon's pale glow. Here, where faith met fire, the air still hums with unspoken truths. Lean into the wind. Let it carry you back, through layers of legend and loss. Montségur waits, patient as stone, guarding its secrets in the heart of the mountain. Before the wars, before the smoke, this was a land of song and light, where faith was not yet chained to stone. Let us drift south, past the last ridge of Montségur, into the wide, sun-drenched valleys of Occitania. The air here is warmer, scented with lavender, and the resin of Aleppo pines that lean like tired sentinels over terraced vineyards. A river glides below you, slow and silver, catching the sky in its mirror. This is Languedoc in the 12th century, a realm that never quite knelt to the north. You walk an old Roman road, its paving stones worn to a soft sheen by centuries of bare feet and cartwheels. On either side, almond trees bloom in pale clouds, their petals drifting like snow in spring. Somewhere, a shepherd's flute answers the cicadas. The sound is simple, yet it carries the cadence of troubadour verses. Love spoken in a language older than Latin. Here, a knight might pledge his heart to a lady whose smile was worth more than a kingdom. Courtly love was not mere poetry. It was doctrine, a liturgy of longing that softened the edges of feudal steel. Pause beneath an olive whose trunk is twisted like a question. Feel the bark, rough and sun-warmed, etched with the initials of lovers' long dust. In this land, tolerance was not a policy but a habit of the heart. Jews, Christians, and wandering preachers shared the same markets, the same wine. A Muslim merchant might haggle with a Cathar weaver beneath the same fig tree, while children chased hoopoes through the dust. The Church of Rome was present, yes, its cathedrals rising like stone ships, but its grip was loose, its voice one among many. Breathe in. The air is thick with rosemary and the faint sweetness of ripening figs. Let it settle in your chest, slow and deliberate. This was a country of gardens and aqueducts, of irrigation channels that sang through the night like hidden lutes. Water was wealth, and wealth was shared. Castles perched on hills, not for war, but for the view, their lords composing songs while falcons wheeled overhead. Toulouse, the pink city, shimmered in the distance, its bridges arched like drawn bows over the Garonne. There, Countess Azalee held court where poetry was currency and heresy a whispered possibility. Walk on. The path narrows, winding through fields of wheat that sway like golden water. A woman in a linen veil passes, carrying a basket of bread still warm from the communal oven. She nods, her eyes the color of river stone. No fear here, not yet. The Cathars, those quiet believers in two worlds, moved among the people like mist among reeds. They asked little, a crust, a corner by the fire, a moment to speak of the God of light who made no demands of flesh. Their words found fertile soil in hearts already weary of tithes and indulgences. At dusk, you reach a village square. Torches are lit, their flames steady in the still air. Musicians tune viols. A dancer's bells chime softly. The scent of roasting chestnuts mingles with the smoke of olive wood fires. Around you, laughter rises in Occitan, liquid and bright. A troubadour lifts his voice. Love is a fire that burns without consuming. The crowd sways, half in dream. In this moment, the world feels boundless, a garden where spirit and matter dance without shame. Lie back on the warm earth. Above, the stars are thick as spilled salt. The Milky Way arches like a bridge between realms. Here, the Cathars taught, the soul had fallen from that river of light into the prison of the body. Yet tonight, the prison feels like a cradle. The earth beneath you is soft, fragrant with crushed time. Somewhere, a nightingale begins its liquid song, each note a bead on an endless rosary. You're not in a land of dogma, but of questions asked beneath open skies. The moon rises, full and low, turning the vineyard silver. Shadows of cypress stretch long, like fingers reaching for something just beyond grasp. In this light, every stone seems to hold a secret. The Cathars walked these same paths, barefoot, their robes the color of dust. They carried no gold, only the memory of a purer gospel, one that spoke of love without ownership, of spirit without chains. The church in Rome watched from afar, its letters growing sharper, its envoys colder. But here, in the land beyond the cross, such warnings were mere clouds on a distant horizon. Let the night deepen. The torches burn lower, their smoke curling like incense. The music fades to a single lute, plucking notes that linger in the air like fireflies. You feel the pulse of the earth, steady and ancient. This was a world where faith could be sung, not enforced, where a heretic might be your neighbor, sharing wine at sunset. The Pyrenees stand sentinel to the south, their peaks already touched with the first snow. Montségur waits there, still a rumor on the wind, a fortress not yet needed. Sleep begins to tug at the edges of your thoughts. The stars blur. The nightingale's song becomes a lullaby. In this cradle of tolerance, a seed was planted, small, bright, impossible to uproot. It would grow into a light the world could not ignore and could not forgive. They called themselves the good men, yet the world named them heretics, souls too light to be bound by earth. Let us slip further back, into the quiet dawn of the 12th century, when the first whispers of a different gospel drifted across the valleys like morning mist. You are walking a narrow track between two fields of barley, the stalks brushing your fingertips with silk-soft heads. The sun is only just clearing the eastern ridge. Its light spills gold across the dew, and every drop becomes a tiny prism. In that shimmer, you sense them, the pure ones, already moving among the living. A woman approaches. Her robe is undyed wool, the color of riverstone tied with a simple cord. Her feet are bare, yet she walks without wincing on the sharp stubble. She carries no staff, no purse, only a small wooden bowl. When she smiles, the world seems to pause. This is a Cathar perfecta, one who has already renounced the world. She does not eat meat, does not lie with another, does not swear oaths. She has died to the flesh and lives in the spirit. Her name is lost to us, but her presence lingers like incense. Stop. Breathe. The air is cool, tasting of wet earth and distant wood smoke. Listen. Beneath the lark's song, a deeper silence. The silence of those who have nothing left to prove. The Cathars believed in two gods, or rather, one true God of light and love, and a lesser creator who forged the prison of matter. This world, they said, is not the Father's kingdom, but the devil's workshop. Every stone, every coin, every crown is a shackle. The soul, a spark of divine fire, is trapped here until it remembers its origin and ascends. She gestures toward a low stone house. Inside, a circle of villagers sits on the packed earth floor. A man lies on a pallet, his breath shallow. The perfecta kneels, places her hands gently on his forehead. This is the consolamentum, the only sacrament the Cathars honored. No water, no oil, no priestly Latin, only the laying on of hands and a promise. May the spirit return to the light. The room is dim, lit by a single oil lamp whose flame trembles like a trapped star. The dying man's eyes open wide, not in fear but in recognition. A soft sigh escapes him, and the watchers bow their heads. Death, for the Cathars, was not an end but a doorway. Step outside again. The sun climbs higher, the barley glows. You follow the perfecta along a path that winds toward a grove of ilex. Their leaves are dark, glossy, eternal green. Beneath them, another gathering, this time of credente, the believers who have not yet taken the final vow. They listen as the perfect reads from a small book bound in plain leather. The words are in Occitan, not Latin. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. But the Cathars heard something deeper. The pure in heart are those who reject the world's illusions, who fast from flesh and desire until the soul shines through the body like light through alabaster. Feel the ground beneath you, firm, yet somehow insubstantial. The Cathars walked as if the earth were a dream they were already waking from. They worked, yes, weavers, bakers, healers, but always with the sense that labor was temporary, a kindness offered to fellow prisoners. They greeted one another with a simple phrase, "Bless me, and may God bless you." No hierarchy, no tithes, no gilded altars. Their churches were the open sky, the shared loaf, the quiet hour before dawn. Night falls. You lie on a hillside, the grass cool against your back. Above, the stars wheel in their ancient dance. The Cathars taught that each star is a soul that has escaped the material prison. Look closely. Can you see one flicker brighter, as if remembering you? They believed in reincarnation, not as punishment, but as schooling. The soul returns again and again, wearing different bodies, learning to renounce until it is light enough to rise. A child born in a lord's castle might have been a beggar in another life. A leper might once have worn silk. All are equal in the eyes of the god of light. Somewhere below, a nightingale begins its song. The notes are liquid, sorrowful, yet luminous. The perfecta sits nearby, her silhouette outlined by moonlight. She is sewing a tear in a credence cloak, her needle flashing like a tiny comet. She hums under her breath, a melody without words. You realize the tune is the same one the dying man heard in his final moment. It is the sound of passage, of release. Let the music carry you. The air grows cooler. Dew settles on your skin like a blessing. In this land, the Cathars were not rebels, but rememberers. They recalled an older Christianity, one before Constantine, before cathedrals and crusades. They spoke of Mary Magdalene not as a penitent but as the beloved, the keeper of a secret gospel. They honored women as perfecti, equal in spirit and authority. In their circles, a washerwoman might console a countess, and both would bow to the same inner light. The moon climbs higher, washing the hillside silver. Shadows of the ilex stretch long, like fingers pointing toward the unseen. You feel the weight of centuries, yet also their lightness. The Cathars carried no armor, only certainty. They knew the world would call them heretics, would hunt them, would burn them. Yet they walked on, barefoot, bowl in hand, eyes fixed on a horizon no map could chart. Sleep tugs at you now, gentle as a mother's hand. The nightingale's song fades into the hush of wind through grass. In your drifting, you see them. Processions of white-robed figures moving through the valleys, their feet leaving no prints. They are going home, though the road is long and the gate narrow. And you, lying here beneath the same stars, are part of their remembering. When the light grows too free, shadows stir to contain it. Let us drift north, past the last vineyard and the last nightingale, until the air cools and the scent of lavender gives way to incense and candle wax. You are in Rome, in the year 1199, inside a chamber of pale marble, where the only sound is the scratch of a quill on parchment. A single lamp burns low. Its flame trembles, as though afraid of what it illuminates. At the table sits a man in white, his face sharp as a blade, his eyes the gray of winter rain. Pope Innocent III. His fingers rest on a document still wet with ink, a bull of condemnation. The Cathars are named, weighed, and found wanting. Breathe. The air here is heavy, thick with the dust of old books and the breath of too many prayers. Outside, the Tiber slides past like black glass, carrying the city's secrets to the sea. Inside, the silence is deliberate, the silence of a verdict already decided. The Pope lifts the quill again, one stroke, and a people become prey. Step back. Let the chamber dissolve into mist. You are in a scriptorium now, high in a monastery tower. Monks in black robes bend over vellum, copying the Pope's words with careful, trembling hands. Each letter is a chain link. The document will travel south on horseback, sealed with crimson wax, carried by men who have never seen Occitania yet already know its guilt. The parchment smells of oak gall and fear. Walk the corridors of power. Feel the stone underfoot, cold even in summer. Portraits of earlier popes gaze down, their painted eyes unblinking. Somewhere, a bell tolls the hour. The sound rolls through the halls like distant thunder. The church has grown vast, its cathedrals taller than any castle, its coffers heavier than any king's. Yet here, in this labyrinth of stone and gold, a whisper from the south has become a threat. The Cathars do not bow. They do not pay. They do not fear. And fear, when it cannot be commanded, turns to fury. Close your eyes. Hear the rustle of silk as cardinals gather in a vaulted hall. Their voices are low, urgent, They deny the sacraments, one says. They mock the Eucharist, another. They ordain women, a third whispers, as though the words themselves are heresy. A map lies open on the table, Occitania marked in red, a bleeding heart in the body of Christendom. Fingers trace the rivers, the mountains, the roads that will soon carry armies. The shadow lengthens. You are in a village square now, far from Rome, yet the bull has arrived. A papal legate stands on a wooden platform, his voice thin but sharp. The crowd is silent, the kind of silence that precedes a storm. He reads the names: Cathar, Pyrenean, publican. Each word a stone dropped into still water. Behind him, soldiers in mail shirts shift their weight, hands resting on sword hilts. The sun is high, but no one feels its warmth. Feel the tension in the air, thick as wool. A woman clutches her child closer. A man fingers the wooden cross at his throat. The legate finishes. He raises a hand, and the soldiers step forward. Not yet to kill, only to mark. Doors are painted with a yellow cross, the sign of infection. The Cathars must leave their homes by nightfall. Some do, some do not. The shadow has begun its work. Night falls. You stand on a hill overlooking the village. Torches flicker below. Moving like fireflies with purpose. A house is emptied, its hearth still warm. A loom stands abandoned, half-woven cloth glowing in the moonlight. The family walks away, barefoot, carrying nothing but the consolamentum in their hearts. Their footprints fill slowly with dew. Listen. Far off, the first howl of the Inquisition, still distant, still a rumor, but it is coming. Monks with ink-stained fingers will soon ride south, armed with questions sharper than swords. They will ask, do you believe the world was made by God? Do you eat meat? Do you swear oaths? A hesitation, a glance away, and the shadow falls. The moon is a thin blade tonight. It cuts the landscape into light and dark, no gradations. You feel the chill of it on your skin, the way truth can feel when it is spoken to plainly. The Cathars offered a mirror. If the world is corrupt, who profits from its corruption? The church looked into that mirror and saw its own wealth, its own power, its own fear. And fear, when cornered, lashes out. Lie down on the cool grass. The stars are hidden behind cloud, but you know they are there, trapped sparks waiting for release. Somewhere, a perfecta walks the roads, her bowl empty, her heart full. She knows the shadow is coming, yet she does not run. She has already died to the world. What can the world take from her now? The wind shifts. It carries the scent of burning parchment, the first hint of what is to come. The shadow is patient. It will wait for the right moment, the right spark. And when it falls, it will fall like night over a candle. The bells of Béziers rang only once, their echo swallowed by screams. Let us descend from the cool heights of doctrine into the furnace of 1209. You stand on the ramparts of Béziers at dawn, the sky a pale rose bruised with smoke. The river orb glints below like a blade unsheathed. The city walls are thick, honey-colored stone warmed by centuries of sun, but today they sweat with dread. Inside, 20,000 souls press shoulder to shoulder, Cathars and Catholics, merchants and children, all breathing the same thin air of panic. Breathe it in. The scent is of baking bread left too long, of unwashed fear, of iron. From the north, a low rumble grows, hoofbeats, cartwheels, the creak of siege engines dragged by oxen. Simon de Montfort's banners flutter crimson and gold, crosses stitched in blood-bright thread. The papal legate, Arnaud Amalric, rides at the fore, his face calm as a priest at vespers. He has come to save the church by breaking it. The siege begins with silence. Then a single arrow arcs over the wall, thuds into wood. Another. 1,000. The sky darkens with shafts, each one a black feather of fate. You hear the first scream, a woman on the lower wall, an arrow through her throat. Blood spatters the stones like spilled wine. The gates shudder under a ram wrapped in wet hides. Wood splinters, iron groans. The air fills with dust and the copper tang of first blood. Step down into the streets. They are narrow, winding, choked with people. A child clutches a rag doll. Its button eyes stare blankly. A Cathar perfectus moves against the tide, robe already torn, laying hands on the wounded, whispering the consolamentum even as arrows whistle overhead. His voice is soft, steady, a thread of light in the gathering dark. Around him, bodies fall like wheat before the scythe. Night comes, but no darkness can hide the torches. The Crusaders breach the northern gate. You smell pitch and burning pine before you see the flames. Houses ignite one by one, thatch roofs blooming into orange flowers. The heat is sudden, intimate, licking at your skin. People run, but there is nowhere to run. The Church of St. Mary Magdalene becomes a tomb. 7,000 crammed inside, doors barred from without. The fire climbs the walls, devours the beams. Inside, the singing begins. Cathar hymns rising with the smoke, pure, unbroken, terrible. Listen. Over the crackle of flame, a voice. Amalric's, calm as winter water. Kill them all, God will know his own. The words drift across the inferno like a curse. Swords flash in the firelight. Blood runs in the gutters, thick, slow, reflecting the burning sky. A baby's cry is cut short. A knight wipes his blade on a silk curtain, already looking for the next door. Dawn finds Béziers, a kiln of ash. The walls still stand, but the city is hollow. Charred beams point at the sky like accusing fingers. The river runs red for a day, then brown, then clear again, as if nothing had happened. 20,000 dead, or more. No one counts the heretic from the faithful when the pyre is shared. The wind shifts, carrying the smell of cooked flesh far into the vineyards. You walk the ruins. The stones are still warm, radiating heat like a dying heart. A child's shoe lies in the dust, soul melted. A prayer book, pages fused into black lace. Somewhere, a bell tolls, cracked, its voice a sob. The Crusaders move on, boots crunching over bone and brick, their crosses now stained darker than scarlet. Follow them south, Carcassonne next, its double walls gleaming white. The siege lasts 15 days. Water runs out. The Lord, young Viscount Raymond Roger Trencavel, rides out to parley, believing in honor. He is seized, chained, left to die of dysentery in his own dungeon. The city surrenders. Its people are spared death, but not exile. Men, women, children driven out in only their shirts, barefoot, into the August heat. You watch them go, a white river of shame flowing from the gates. Years pass in a haze of smoke. Simon de Montfort carves a path of fire, Minerve, where 200 Cathars are burned in a single pyre. Term, starved into submission, Lavore, where the lady of the castle is stoned to death in a well, and 400 follow her into the flames. Each victory is a psalm sung in Latin, each massacre a verse in the Church's new gospel. Lie down now among the ashes of a burned vineyard. The earth is black, soft, still warm. Above, the stars are veiled in smoke, but you know they watch. The Crusaders sleep in stolen beds, their dreams heavy with wine and justification. Somewhere, a perfecta walks the night roads, barefoot, carrying nothing but the memory of light. She does not look back. The fire has taken everything but her certainty. The wind rises. It carries the scent of distant rain, the promise of cleansing. But not yet. The crusade will grind on for 20 years until the land itself is exhausted, until Occitania is a widow in mourning weeds. And still, in the silence between battles you can hear it, a faint singing rising from the embers, refusing to die. Above the valleys of ruin, a citadel of faith took root in the clouds. Let us climb again, slowly, through the hush of pine and the scent of resin that clings to the air like amber. The year is 1204. The Crusaders are still far off, their drums a rumor on the wind. You are on a narrow path that switchbacks up the Pog, the sheer limestone cone that thrusts skyward from the airy edge. Each step is deliberate. The gravel shifts beneath your soles, whispering of balance. The sun is low, its light slanting gold across the rock face, turning every crevice into a secret. Breathe. The air is thin here, sharp with altitude and the clean bite of stone. Far below, the river Lasset is a silver ribbon, winding through meadows still green, still innocent. You pause, hand against the warm rock. It pulses faintly, as if the mountain itself has a slow heart. This is sacred ground, though no cathedral will ever crown it. The Cathars felt it first, a place where the veil between worlds thins, where the soul can almost touch the stars it once called home. Higher. The path narrows to a ledge barely wider than your foot. Wind presses against you, cool, insistent, carrying the faint echo of a woman's voice. Esclarmonde de Foix, the great perfecta, her name a melody of light. She stood here once, robe fluttering like a banner, eyes fixed on the horizon. Her brother, Raymond de Péré, lord of the castle, walks beside her in memory. He is no heretic, not yet, but his heart leans toward the pure ones. Together they have chosen this impossible height for a fortress that will be more sanctuary than stronghold. Feel the stone under your palms as you climb the final stretch. The walls rise suddenly. Pale limestone blocks fitted without mortar, each one a silent vow. The castle is small, no sprawling labyrinth, just a pentagonal keep and a curtain wall that hugs the cliff like a lover's arm. The entrance is a low arch, almost humble. Step through. The courtyard is quiet, paved with flat stones worn smooth by centuries of bare feet. A single fig tree grows in the center, its leaves dark, glossy, eternal. Its roots drink from cracks no eye can see. Inside the keep, the air is cooler, scented with tallow and dried herbs. A hearth glows low. A perfectus tends a pot of lentil stew, the only meal the pure will share. Around him, credentes sit on benches, their faces lit by firelight and something deeper. A child traces patterns in the dust, a spiral, a star. The walls are bare, no tapestries, no weapons on display. This is not a place of war, not yet. It is a place of waiting. Walk the battlements at dusk. The sky is a bowl of deepening indigo, the first star a pinprick of promise. Below, the valleys stretch like a rumpled quilt, fields and forests stitched together by rivers. You can see the smoke of distant villages, the glint of a church spire, the slow crawl of a caravan on the old Roman road. Montségur is invisible from below, hidden by the curve of the Pog, a secret written in stone. The wind up here is constant, a low hymn that never ceases. It lifts your hair, cools the sweat on your neck, carries away the day's small worries. Listen. Somewhere in the keep, a woman sings. Her voice is soft, unadorned, yet it fills the night like water filling a cup. She sings of the soul's journey, of the light that waits beyond the stars. The notes drift over the walls, down the cliffs, into the valleys where the Crusaders are already sharpening their blades. But up here, the song is enough. It is armor. It is bread. It is the reason the castle was built. Lie down on the warm stone of the courtyard. The sky is a river of stars now, the Milky Way a bridge of light. The fig tree rustles above you, its leaves whispering in a language older than Occitan. You feel the mountain beneath you, vast, patient, ancient. It has seen glaciers come and go, has held the bones of bears and the footprints of Romans. Now it holds the Cathars, a handful of souls who believe the world is ending and beginning at once. Sleep begins to weave its threads. The song fades, but its echo lingers in your chest. Montségur is not a fortress of stone, not truly. It is a question carved into the sky. Can light defy gravity? Can faith outlast fire? The walls around you are not defenses, but wings, folded for now, waiting for the moment of ascent. The moon rises, full and low, bathing the castle in silver. Shadows pool in the corners, soft, forgiving. Somewhere, a child laughs in dream. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of time and distant snow. The mountain breathes with you, slow, steady, eternal. They ate no flesh, shed no blood, and feared no death, for their treasure was not of this world. Let us enter the keep at twilight, when the last light slides along the limestone like oil on water. The year is 1243. Outside, winter grips the pog. Inside, a single lamp burns, its flame steady as a heartbeat. You stand in the doorway of the great hall, the air thick with the scent of beeswax, dried lavender, and the faint warmth of many bodies breathing in unison. 20, perhaps 30, perfect sit in a loose circle on the stone floor, their robes the color of dust and moonlight. No thrones, no banners, only the quiet authority of eyes that have already seen beyond the veil. Breathe. The air is still, almost reverent, as if the room itself is listening. A woman, Esclamon the younger, kneels before an elderly man whose breath rattles like dry leaves. She places her hands on his forehead, the others bow their heads. The consolamentum. No priest, no incense, no Latin, only the soft murmur of Occitan. May the spirit be made perfect. The old man's face smooths. A sigh escapes him, lighter than air. He is dying, yet his lips curve in a smile that belongs to someone already home. When the rite ends, two credantes lift him gently onto a pallet near the hearth. The fire crackles, low and steady, the only sound for a long moment. Step closer. The floor is cool beneath your bare feet, worn smooth by generations of quiet footsteps. A young perfectus, Bertrand, no more than 20, offers you a wooden bowl of water. His hands are calloused from weaving, yet they tremble slightly as he passes it. You drink. The water is cold, drawn from a cistern carved deep into the rock, tasting of stone and starlight. Around the circle, others share a simple meal. Dark bread, lentils, a few dried figs. They eat slowly, mindfully, as if each bite is a prayer. No one speaks of the siege that tightens below like a noose. No one needs to. Listen. A woman begins to hum, a melody older than the castle itself. One by one, the others join, their voices weaving a tapestry of sound that fills the hall and spills through the arrow slits into the night. The tune is wordless, yet it carries the weight of every soul that has ever sought refuge here. Outside, the wind howls, rattling the shutters, but inside, the song is a shield. You feel it settle over you, like a cloak of silk, warm despite the winter. Walk the narrow corridor that leads to the chapel, little more than a niche in the rock. A single candle burns before a plain wooden cross, no corpus, no gold. On a low table lies a small book, its leather cover cracked with age. A perfecta, Guilelma, sits beside it, her finger tracing the lines. She reads aloud, softly. In the beginning was the light. and the light was imprisoned in darkness. Her voice is a lullaby for the dying world. You sit opposite her. The candle flame dances, painting shadows on the wall, shadows that seem to move with a life of their own. Night deepens. The lamp in the hall is extinguished. Only the hearth glows, embers pulsing like slow heartbeats. The perfects settle onto straw pallets, their breathing synchronized, a quiet tide. You lie among them, the stone cool against your spine. Above, through a slit in the roof, the stars are sharp, merciless, eternal. One of the perfects, an old man named Pierre, whispers into the dark, "Tomorrow the snow will fall again. The French will curse it. We will bless it. Every flake is a soul returning home." His words drift like smoke, and you feel them settle in your chest, light as ash. Sleep tugs at the edges of your vision. In the hush, you hear the small sounds of the living. A cough muffled in a sleeve, the creak of a pallet, the soft rustle of a robe as someone turns. These are the last perfects, the final guardians of a faith that asked only for emptiness. They have given away their lands, their families, their names. They own nothing but the certainty that the world is not their home. And yet, in this barren height, they are richer than any king. Dream begins to weave its threads. You see them as they see themselves, sparks of light trapped in clay, waiting for the fire that will free them. The siege is a distant drum now, a heartbeat not their own. They have already died 1,000 times in spirit. What can steel or flame take from them? The mountain holds them gently, like a mother cradling sleepers. The wind outside sings their names, though no one below will ever speak them again. Snow fell softly over the stone walls, each flake a silent prayer. Let us stand on the battlements at the turning of 1243 into 1244. The sky is the color of pewter, and the air bites with a cold that slips beneath wool and mail alike. You wrap your cloak tighter. The wind finds every seam. Below, the French camp spreads like a dark bruise across the white valley, tents in orderly rows, banners limp in the damp, cook fires hissing under iron pots. 10,000 men, perhaps more, ring the pog. Their breath rises in pale ghosts. They have come to end a heresy. Yet the mountain does not tremble. Breathe. The air is thin, sharp with ice, and the faint iron scent of distant forges. From this height, the soldiers look small, almost pitiful, their armor dulled by frost. A siege tower creaks forward on wooden wheels, its timbers wrapped in wet hides to foil fire. Catapults squat like patient beasts, their arms loaded with stones the size of a man's head. The first thud comes, low, deliberate. A rock arcs high, a black speck against the gray, then drops with a crack that echoes up the cliff. Dust drifts from the curtain wall, but the stone holds. Another. Another. The mountain absorbs the blows as it has absorbed centuries. Step along the parapet. Your boots crunch on frost-rimed gravel. A perfectus, gaunt but serene, passes you with a nod. He carries a small basket of dried apples, the last of the winter store. Inside the keep, the garrison numbers barely 400. Knights, credentes, a handful of women who refuse to leave. They move with the quiet economy of those who have already counted the cost. A boy of 12 hauls a bucket of snow to melt for water. His cheeks are red, his eyes bright with something fiercer than fear. Listen. The wind carries fragments, the clink of mail, a sergeant's curse, the low chant of priests blessing the engines of war. Down in the camp, Simon de Montfort's son, Guy, paces before a map spread on a drum. His breath steams as he points. Here the eastern cliff, too sheer. There the southern path, narrow but possible. They will try everything. They have time. Winter is their ally now, Night falls early. The snow thickens, muffling the world. You stand at an arrow slit watching torches bloom below like orange flowers in the dark. A trebuchet releases. The stone whistles, strikes the lower wall with a sound like a giant's fist. Chips of limestone rain down the cliff. Somewhere inside, a woman begins to sing, soft, steady, the same wordless melody you heard in the hall. The notes rise through the stone, threading the cold, binding the defenders in a net of sound stronger than iron. Walk the inner ward. The fig tree is bare now, its branches black against the snow. A knight, Pierre Roger de Mirepoix, leans against the trunk, sharpening a dagger by lantern light. His face is lined, but his eyes are calm. "They think to starve us," he murmurs to the darkness. "They forget we have already fasted from the world." He offers you a strip of dried pear. It is sweet, almost forgotten. The siege settles into rhythm. Days blur. The thud of stones, the whistle of arrows, the slow drip of melting snow in the cistern. Food dwindles to a handful of grain per soul. The perfects give their portions to the children first, then to the fighters. They themselves eat snow and prayer. At night, you lie on straw in the undercroft, the mountain's cold seeping through the floor. Above, the wind howls like a living thing, yet the song continues, faint but unbroken. One dawn, a parley horn sounds. A herald in a white tabard climbs the lower slope under a flag of truce. His voice is thin, carried away by wind. Surrender, and the garrison may leave with their lives. The heretics will be questioned. Pierre Roger stands on the wall, snow in his beard. He answers with silence, then a single raised hand. The herald retreats. The catapults resume their slow heartbeat. Lie back now, on the cold stone of the chapel floor. A single candle gutters. Outside, the snow falls thicker, erasing footprints, erasing hope of supply. The French dig in, their tents half buried. Their patience a colder weapon than steel. 10 months stretch ahead like an endless night. Yet within these walls time feels different, slower, deeper, measured in breaths and songs, and the quiet certainty that the soul cannot be besieged. Under the veil of night, 4 shadows descended the mountain, carrying nothing the world could see. Let us slip to the darkest hour of a moonless March night in 1244. The siege has gnawed the fortress to the bone. The air inside the keep is thin with hunger and the smoke of a single lamp. You stand in the narrow postern gate, a slit in the eastern wall barely wide enough for one body at a time. Snow still falls, soft and relentless, erasing every footprint almost before it forms. The wind has dropped to a whisper, as though the mountain itself is holding its breath. Breathe. The cold is absolute, a blade against the throat, yet the 4 who wait here do not shiver. Their robes are patched, their faces hollow, but their eyes burn with a light that needs no oil. 2 men, 2 women, perfects, whose names have already been surrendered to silence. One carries a small leather pouch tied at the throat with a cord of woven hair. Another clutches a rolled parchment no longer than a forearm. The third presses a plain wooden box against her heart. The fourth has nothing in her hands, yet her gaze is the heaviest of all. Listen. Far below, the French camp sleeps uneasily. A dog barks once, then is hushed. A sentry coughs into his glove. The siege engine stands silent under tarpaulins stiff with frost. Up here, the only sound is the soft creak of the postern's iron hinge as Pierre Roger de Mirepoix eases it open. He does not speak. Words are a luxury the knight cannot afford. Instead, he lays a hand on the first man's shoulder, a blessing without sound. Then the 4 step onto the cliff path. a goat track invisible to any eye not born to these heights. Follow them, if you can. The way is a knife edge of rock glazed with ice. One slip, and the abyss claims you. Snowflakes melt on your lashes. The world narrows to the next footfall, the next breath. The first man leads, testing each hold with fingers numb but sure. Behind him, the woman with the box moves like mist, her bare feet finding purchase where boots would slide. They descend in single file, a dark thread stitched into the white flank of the pog. Halfway down, they pause in the lee of an overhang. The leader loosens the pouch and tips its contents into his palm. A single object, small, dull, impossible to name in the dark. He presses it to his lips, then passes it to the woman beside him. She does the same. No one speaks. Whatever they carry is not gold, not gems, not even parchment, though the rolled sheet and the box travel with them. It is lighter than thought, heavier than empires. The mountain knows. The snow knows. The night keeps their secret. Lower now. The path twists into a chimney of rock, a natural flue hidden by centuries of rockfall. Here, the air smells of moss and wet stone, a scent older than the crusade. The four move single file, backs brushing limestone, breath pluming white. Somewhere above, a French patrol passes on the ridge, torches guttering in the wind, voices muffled by wool scarves. The shadows freeze, become part of the cliff. The patrol moves on. The descent resumes. At the base, where the pog meets the forest, a fifth figure waits, a credence guide with a mule loaded with empty sacks. The exchange is wordless. The pouch, the parchment, the box vanish beneath coarse wool. The guide melts into the trees. The four do not follow. Their task is done. Their lives are forfeit if they return. Instead, they turn their faces to the cliff and begin the long climb back, slower now, leaving no trace but the faint warmth of their passing. You watch from the tree line as they ascend, four specks against the white, growing smaller, swallowed by snow and stone. By dawn they will be inside the walls again, sharing the last crust with the children, singing the morning hymn as if nothing has changed. The French will never know what slipped through their fingers. The mountain will not tell. Lie down now in the soft needles beneath the pines. The snow has stopped. The sky is a deep indigo, pricked with the first pale stars. Somewhere high above, a lamp is lit in the keep, a tiny beacon against the dark. The four shadows have become legend before they are even ash. Whatever they carried is already beyond the reach of swords and inquisitors, moving south on hidden paths, toward caves, toward monasteries, toward hearts that will not open for centuries. Sleep drifts in on silent wings. The forest breathes around you, slow, ancient, patient. The secret is gone, yet it hums in the air like a plucked string, a note too low for human ears. The mountain keeps its counsel. The night keeps its promise. At dawn, the gates opened, not in defeat, but in devotion. Let us stand on the frost-rimed battlements of March 2nd, 1244. The sky is a pale, washed-out blue, the color of a blade after blood has dried. 10 months of siege have left the walls scarred but standing. The snow lies thin and dirty, trampled by the last patrols. You feel the hush that falls before an ending. No wind, no birds, only the slow breathing of 400 souls who have chosen the manner of their leaving. Breathe. The air is cold enough to burn the lungs, yet it carries a faint sweetness, the ghost of the fig tree's last leaves. Below, the French camp stirs. Banners raised, horses saddled, priests in white surplices already chanting the day's first office. They expect resistance, a final clash of steel on stone. Instead, the postern creaks open, and Pierre Roger de Mirepoix steps out alone, unarmed, his cloak the color of ash. He carries a white cloth tied to a broken lance. The parley is brief. Terms are spoken in low voices. The garrison may leave with their lives. The perfects and any who choose the consolamentum will be given to the church. The silence that follows is heavier than any battle cry. Inside the keep, the choice is made without drama. 225 souls, men, women, even a child of 12, step forward to receive the rite one final time. The hall is dim, lit only by the hearth's red eye and a single lamp. Esclarmonde the younger moves among them, her hands steady as she lays them on bowed heads. May the spirit be made perfect. Each touch is a spark leaping from clay to ether. When the last consolamentum is given, the newly perfected rise as one, their faces luminous, already elsewhere. Walk with them now, down the narrow stair, across the courtyard where the fig tree stands naked against the sky. The French have built the pyre in the Prat Dells, Cremats, the field of the burned, a level meadow just below the walls. It is a simple structure, a circle of stakes driven into the frozen earth, faggots piled waist-high, pitch-soaked for quick ignition. The soldiers form a corridor, pikes outward, faces unreadable beneath steel rims. No jeering, no drums, only the soft crunch of boots on frost, and the priests' murmured Latin. The perfects walk barefoot. Their robes brush the snow, leaving faint trails that vanish almost at once. They do not look at the pyre. They look through it, as though it were a doorway rather than an end. A young woman, perhaps 20, carries a sprig of dried lavender. She tucks it behind her ear like a bride. An old man hums the wordless hymn, the same one that has threaded every night of the siege. One by one they step into the circle, arranging themselves with the calm of guests at a banquet. The soldiers bind them loosely, more ritual than restraint. No one struggles. No one speaks. You stand at the edge of the field, close enough to feel the heat before the torches are even lit. The air smells of pine resin and wet wool. A priest raises a brand. The first flame leaps, blue at the base, then gold. The fire catches with a soft whoosh, as though the pyre itself is relieved to begin. The hymn rises, thin at first, then stronger, 200 voices braided into a single chord of sound. The flames climb their legs, their robes, their hair. Yet the song does not falter. Faces glow orange, then white, then vanish into light. The smell is of wood smoke and something sweeter, indefinable, like bread baking far away. Listen. Above the crackle, above the priest's hurried prayers, the melody holds. It is not defiance, it is homecoming. A child's voice, high and clear, carries the highest note, then is silent. The pyre settles into a steady roar. Sparks spiral upward, tiny souls released to the morning. The French watch in silence now, some crossing themselves, some turning away. The mountain watches without blinking. When it is over, the field is a circle of ash and bone, still glowing. The wind comes then, gentle, gathering the gray dust and lifting it in slow spirals toward the sky. You feel it on your face, soft as forgiveness. The garrison, those who chose life, are already marching down the path, heads bowed, footsteps muffled. They will carry the memory in their marrow, but the song is gone with the smoke. Lie down now on the warm stones of the courtyard, though the sun is only just clearing the ridge. The fig tree's shadow stretches long, a dark wing across the ground. Somewhere, a single bird begins to sing, tentative, as if testing the silence. The fortress is empty, yet it hums with what it has released. 225 sparks have returned to the river of light, and the mountain is lighter by that much grace. For 2 centuries, the wind carried their ashes, but not their words. Let us linger on the Prat dels Cremats. At the close of that March day in 1244, the pyre has burned itself to a low red eye. The last curl of smoke rises thin and pale, dissolving into a sky the color of tarnished silver. You kneel at the edge of the circle. The ground is warm, almost tender, as if the earth itself is cradling what remains. Ash drifts across your fingertips, soft, weightless, the texture of forgotten snow. Beneath it, fragments of bone glow faintly, ivory against charcoal. No one speaks. Even the French soldiers have stepped back, their pikes lowered, their faces unreadable. Breathe. The air is thick with the scent of pine resin and something faintly sweet, like bread left too long in the oven. A priest moves among the embers with a long iron rod, stirring, ensuring nothing stirs in return. His lips move in Latin, but the words fall flat, swallowed by the mountain's silence. Overhead, a lone raven circles once, twice, then veers south. The wind shifts, lifting a handful of ash and carrying it over the cliff, down into the valley where the first wildflowers will soon push through the thaw. Walk the path the garrison took. It is narrow, treacherous with ice, yet their footprints are already filling with blown snow. 400 souls spared by the sword, yet condemned to memory. They will scatter, some to Aragon, some to Lombardy, some to vanish into the forest like smoke. Their tongues will be still, but their eyes will carry the fire. In taverns years from now, a stranger will lower his voice and speak of a mountain where people walked into flame, singing. The listener will cross himself and change the subject, yet the seed is planted. Night falls. You sit alone in the empty courtyard of Montségur. The fig tree stands black against the stars, its branches etched like veins. The keep is a hollow shell, doors hang open, hinges creaking in the breeze. Somewhere inside, a rat skitters across stone, the only living sound. You light no lamp. The darkness is kinder. It lets you hear what daylight conceals. The faint echo of a hymn, not in the air, but in the bones of the mountain. The stones remember. They always remember. Lie back on the cold flagstones. The sky is vast, indifferent, yet tonight it feels intimate, as though the stars lean closer to listen. The Milky Way arches like a bridge of light, and you imagine the souls crossing it. 225 sparks returning to their source. The Inquisition will come soon, with parchment and chains, but it will find only silence here. The perfects took their gospel with them, wordless, weightless, beyond the reach of ink and iron. Years will pass. The castle will crumble, stone by stone. Shepherds will shelter in its ruins. Lovers will carve their initials in its walls. The wind will keep polishing the edges of memory until only the shape remains. In 1330, the last known Cathar perfect, Guillaume Belibast, will be burned in Languedoc, his final words a whisper. In 100 years, the fig tree will bloom again. The inquisitor will write it down, puzzled, then file it away. The fig tree in the courtyard will indeed bloom, century after century, its roots drinking from the same hidden spring. Sleep drifts in on moth wings. The mountain breathes beneath you, slow and ancient. You feel the ash still settling in the folds of your cloak, fine as talc, warm as skin. Somewhere far below, a nightjar calls, a liquid, mournful note. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full, like a cup held steady after the wine is poured. The Cathars are gone, yet they are everywhere. In the wind that combs the grass, in the starlight that pools in the cracks, in the hush between heartbeats. They say a treasure left Montségur before the fire, unseen by the eye, guarded by silence. Let us walk the night paths of legend, where moonlight is thin as parchment and every stone hides a mouth. It is still March 1244, but the pyre's glow has faded to memory. You follow the four shadows who descended the cliff 2 nights before the surrender. They are long gone now, swallowed by forest and distance, yet their footprints linger in the mind like frost on glass. The mountain exhales, and you feel the question settle on your tongue. What did they carry that weighed nothing, yet bent the arc of centuries? Breathe. The air is colder here, lower down, laced with the green breath of pine and the mineral scent of hidden streams. You stand at the mouth of a cave the locals call the Bethlehem, a low arch half veiled by ivy. Inside, the darkness is absolute, yet it hums, a low note struck on a string no hand can touch. The four left something here, or took something, or both. The story shifts with every telling, a chalice of plain wood, a book bound in human skin, a crystal that holds the echo of a single word. None of these. All of these. The truth is lighter. Step inside. The floor is damp sand, cool beneath bare feet. Your eyes adjust. Faint phosphorescence clings to the walls, the glow of minerals older than faith. You run your fingers over the rock, smooth in places, rough in others, etched with faint spirals no scholar has catalogued. Somewhere deeper, water drips, slow as a heartbeat. The cave breathes with you. It remembers the weight of the pouch, the parchment, the box. It remembers the moment the four knelt here, heads bowed, and entrusted their burden to the dark. Listen. The drip becomes a voice, soft, genderless, speaking Occitan so old it feels like wind through reeds. Not gold, not stone, not even word, but the space between. You feel it then, a hollowness in the chest that is also fullness. The treasure was never an object, it was a transmission, a lineage of breath, a silence that sings. The four carried the last unbroken thread of the Cathar gnosis, the direct memory of light before it was named heresy. They carried it out of the world's reach, into the womb of the mountain, into the bloodstream of those who would come after. Walk deeper. The passage narrows, then opens into a chamber no map records. Here the air is warmer, scented faintly with myrrh, though no incense has burned in 1,000 years. On a natural ledge lies a shallow bowl of stone, filled with water so still it might be glass. Lean over it. Your reflection is slow to form, as though the water hesitates to recognize you. Then it does, and for an instant you see not your face, but theirs. The four, eyes luminous, mouths curved in the same serene half-smile they wore walking into flame. The vision lasts a breath, then shatters into ripples. Kneel, touch the water. It is neither cold nor warm, only present. In its surface, fragments appear. A child in Lombardy copying a forbidden text by candlelight. A troubadour in Provence, weaving dualist riddles into love songs. A stonemason in Chartreux, carving a rose window that holds the secret of two gods in perfect balance. The treasure did not vanish. It dispersed. It became seed, wind, dream. It became the pause between heartbeats, where the soul remembers it is not the body. Lie back on the cool sand. The cave roof is lost in darkness, yet you feel the weight of the pog above, the weight of centuries. The water in the bowl settles again, mirror still. Somewhere far off, a night bird calls once, then is silent. The mountain keeps its vigil. The treasure is safe, not because it is hidden, but because it cannot be held. It is the light that slips through every net, the word that survives every burning. Sleep begins its slow weave. The cave breathes with you, in and out, ancient and patient. You feel the ash of Montségur still clinging to your skin, fine as stardust. The four are gone, yet they are here, in the hush, in the drip, in the space between your thoughts. The treasure was never meant to be found. It was meant to be remembered in the moment before waking, when the soul is closest to its source. The mountains do not forget. They whisper in the cracks of stone and time. Let us leave the cave and walk the high pastures at midsummer, when the snow has retreated to the highest cirque, and the air is thick with the drone of bees. The year is fluid now, no longer 1244, not yet 2025, only the eternal present of the Pyrenees. You follow a shepherd's track that winds between limestone pavements, polished smooth by glaciers long gone. The grass is short, starred with gentian and edelweiss, and every blade carries a bead of dew that catches the sun like a tiny prism. The Pog of Montségur rises ahead, its ruined walls a pale crown against the sky. Breathe. The air is warm, resinous, laced with the faint sweetness of wild thyme crushed beneath your step. Somewhere, a marmot whistles. The sound skitters across the slope and vanishes into silence. You are alone, yet not. The mountains are full of listeners. In the folds of the hills, in the hollows where mist pools at dawn, the story of the pure ones has taken root like alpine clover, tenacious, unkillable. Pause at a spring that bubbles from a crack in the rock. The water is icy, tasting of minerals and starlight. Kneel and drink. As you lift your face, you notice the stones around the spring are arranged in a subtle spiral, no accident of nature. A shepherd's mark? A lover's promise? Or something older? The Cathars passed this way, barefoot, carrying their bowls, their silence, their impossible hope. They left no churches, no tombs, only these quiet arrangements of stone, alignments that catch the solstice sun and hold it like a secret. Walk on. The path climbs to a col where the wind is sudden and fierce, whipping your hair across your eyes. From here, you can see the whole chain, peak after peak, each one a page in a book written in snow and granite. In the valleys below, villages huddle around Romanesque churches, their bells ringing the hours as they have for 800 years. The sound drifts upward, thin, metallic, yet it carries the echo of another music, the wordless hymn that rose from the pyre. The mountains caught it, folded it into their crevices, and now they give it back, note by note, to anyone who climbs high enough to listen. Sit on a flat boulder warmed by the sun. The stone is etched with faint cup marks, shallow bowls no larger than a child's palm. Rain has filled them. Each holds a perfect circle of sky. Lean close. In one, you see a reflection not of cloud but of flame, brief, golden, gone. In another, a face, a woman's, serene, eyes closed as if in sleep. The images come and go like memories not your own. This is how the story survived, not in manuscripts, which burn, but in stone, in water, in the slow turning of the year. Listen closer. The wind shifts, and for a moment it carries voices. Occitan, soft, lilting, speaking of light and darkness, of a god who needs no temple. A shepherd's tale, perhaps, told around a fire of juniper and pine, or a grandmother's lullaby, warning children not to stray too far up the Pog, where the burned ones still walk. The Grail appears in these stories too, not as a cup, but as a presence, a glow seen at twilight between the peaks, leading the lost to safety. Montségur becomes Montsalvat, the mountain of salvation, its name softened by centuries of tongue and dream. Lie back on the warm stone. The sky is a deep, flawless blue, the kind that makes the heart ache with distance. A hawk hangs motionless overhead, wings spread to the thermals. You feel the mountain beneath you, vast, breathing. It has seen the Romans come and go, the Visigoths, the Moors, the Crusaders. It has seen the last perfect burned in a village square, seen the fig tree in the courtyard bloom and wither and bloom again, and still it holds the silence, the space where the hymn can still be heard if you know how to listen. Sleep drifts in on the wings of the hawk. The sun warms your eyelids, the stone cradles your spine. Somewhere, a bell tolls the Angelus, and for an instant the centuries overlap, the clang of 1244, the clang of 1424, the clang of now. The mountains keep the time. The story is not lost, it is only waiting, folded into the grass, the water, the wind, waiting for ears that have learned the language of stone. They believed the world itself was a prison, built of shadows around trapped stars. Let us descend from the high pastures into the cool, echoing nave of your own chest. The year no longer matters. The place is everywhere and nowhere. You're walking barefoot on a floor of polished obsidian that reflects the night sky above, an inverted firmament where every star is a soul looking down at itself. The air is still, scented faintly with myrrh and wet stone. Around you, walls of black glass rise into darkness, seamless, endless. This is the Cathar cosmos, not a church, but a mirror. Breathe. Each inhalation draws in the silence. Each exhalation releases a faint shimmer, like dust motes catching candlelight. You are both prisoner and architect. The Cathars taught that matter is the handiwork of a lesser god, a jealous demiurge who forged the world from darkness to trap the sparks of the true god's light. Every mountain, every river, every heartbeat is a bar in the cage. Yet the cage has a door, and the key is remembrance. Walk forward. Your reflection walks beneath you, upside down, eyes luminous. Touch the floor, it is warm, pulsing faintly, as if the earth itself is alive with longing. In the glass you see not your body but a star, brilliant, caged in flesh. The Cathars called this the angelic substance, the divine exile. They fasted, not to punish the body but to thin the bars, to let the light leak through. They loved, not to possess but to recognize the same spark in another's eyes. Pause at the center. Here the floor dips into a shallow basin filled with water so dark it might be ink. Kneel. The surface is mirror still. Lean closer. Your reflection fragments, then reforms into a multitude. A child in a Languedoc village, a weaver at her loom, a knight laying down his sword, a perfecta with hands outstretched in blessing. All of them are you. All of them are the same light wearing different masks. The water ripples though you have not touched it. A soft voice, neither male nor female, speaks from the depths. The prison is perfect because the prisoner forgets the key is in his own hand. Listen. The silence is not empty. It is full of breathing. You hear the slow inhale of the mountain, the exhale of the sea, the heartbeat of every creature that ever lived. The Cathars heard it too. They traced it back to the Bogomils of Bulgaria, who traced it to the Manichaeans of Persia, who traced it to the Gnostics of Alexandria, who traced it to a garden before time where light and darkness were not yet named. The chain is unbroken, though every link has been burned, buried, forbidden. Truth, like water, finds new channels. Stand. The walls around you begin to glow faintly, not with light, but with memory. Images appear. A dualist cosmos painted on a cave wall. Two trees, one of light, one of shadow. A Bogomil priest in a forest clearing, baptizing with breath alone. A Cathar consolamentum in a candlelit barn, hands joined across centuries. The mirror shows you the parallels, the endless reflection. Light trapped in matter is the human story. Every birth is a fall. Every death, a potential release. Lie down now on the warm obsidian. The inverted stars above pulse, gently, in time with your heart. You feel the prison walls not as stone but as thought, as desire, as the illusion of separation. The Cathars dissolved the illusion with fasting, with song, with the simple refusal to add to the world's weight. They left no cathedrals, no armies, only this mirror, this question. If the world is a prison, who locked the door from the inside? Sleep drifts in like mist through an open window. The water in the basin stills again. Your reflection returns, serene, luminous. Somewhere, a nightingale sings though there are no trees. The song is the key turning in the lock. The bars dissolve. The light remembers itself. In the songs of knights and poets, Montségur became Montsalvat, the fortress of the Grail. Let us drift now into the soft green hush of a German forest, the year 1200 or thereabouts. You ride a narrow path between oaks older than Charlemagne. Their leaves form a vaulted roof through which sunlight falls in shifting coins. The air is cool, scented with moss and distant wood smoke. Ahead, a clearing opens, and a poet knight sits on a mossy log, lute across his knee. Wolfram von Eschenbach. His fingers pluck a slow, dreaming chord. He is singing of a mountain castle where a stone of pure light is guarded by a company of the pure, Montsalvat. You know the name, though he has not yet spoken it. Breathe. The forest air is thick with bird song and the faint sweetness of wild strawberries. Wolfram's voice is low, almost spoken, yet it carries the weight of prophecy. He sings of Parzival, the fool who becomes king, of a chalice that is not a chalice, of a wound that will not heal until the right question is asked. The words are in Middle High German, yet you understand them as if they were your mother tongue. The mountain he describes is not in the Black Forest or the Alps. It is Montségur, transfigured by dream and distance into a place beyond maps. Sit beside him on the log. The moss is damp, yielding. Wolfram pauses, fingers still on the strings. He offers you a sip from a leather flask, water, clear, tasting of stone. The Grail, he says, eyes bright with something between mischief and reverence, is not what the priests think. It is a lapsit exilis, a stone fallen from heaven, carried by doves, guarded by those who have renounced the world. You feel the hush that follows, as though the forest itself leans in to listen. Listen. The lute resumes, softer now. Wolfram weaves the Cathar story into his tapestry without naming it. The Templar knights who serve the Grail are not mailed crusaders, but white-robed guardians, celibate, vegetarian, answering to no earthly lord. Their castle floats above the clouds, unreachable by sin. The parallels are unmistakable. The perfects on their pog, the consolamentum, the refusal of oaths and flesh. Wolfram heard the whispers carried north by troubadours fleeing the Albigensian fires. He heard of a treasure that left Montségur before the flames, and he made it a stone that feeds the soul. Walk with him as the path widens into a meadow. The sun is low, gilding the grass. In the distance, a ruined chapel stands, its rose window a wheel of light. Wolfram stops. There, he says, pointing not to the chapel but to the sky beyond. That is where Montsalvat lies, not in stone, but in the space between heartbeats. You look. For an instant the clouds part, and you see it. The pog crowned with walls, the fig tree black against the sky, a faint glow rising from the Pratt dells, cremats like a memory of dawn. Lie down in the meadow. The grass is warm, fragrant. Above, the first stars appear, gentle, unhurried. Wolfram's lute has fallen silent, but the melody lingers in the air, a thread connecting the Pyrenees to this northern forest, the 13th century to every century. The Grail is not a cup, not a stone, not even a secret text. It is the question Parzival finally asks, "What ails thee?" The question that heals the wound, that releases the light. Sleep drifts in on the wings of a white dove you almost see. The meadow breathes with you, slow and steady. Somewhere, a nightingale takes up the tune Wolfram left unfinished. The mountain and the forest are the same place, seen from different angles of dream. The Grail is the space where memory and longing meet, where the burned ones still walk, barefoot, singing. Both carried crosses, one of stone, one of silence. Let us ride now along a moonlit road in the year 1209, somewhere between Toulouse and the Mediterranean. The air is warm, heavy with the scent of cypress and salt. You travel with a small company, 3 knights in plain white mantles, the red cross pate stitched over the heart, and 2 Cathar perfects wrapped in gray wool. No banners, no squires, only the soft clop of hooves and the creak of leather. The knights are Templars, returning from a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. The perfects are fleeing the first flames of the crusade. They share the road in silence, yet the silence is companionable, like 2 streams merging without quarrel. Breathe. The night smells of dust and distant sea. Fireflies drift above the verges, tiny lanterns for the unseen. The lead Templar, a scarred man named Bertrand, reins in at a crossroads marked by a wayside cross of weathered stone. He dismounts, kneels, touches the earth. The perfects wait, patient. When Bertrand rises, he offers them water from his flask. They drink, then pass it back. No words. Only the exchange of eyes, recognition, not of rank or creed, but of a shared refusal to bow to the world's weight. Follow them to a ruined watchtower on a hill overlooking the sea. The stone is warm from the day's sun. Ivy climbs the walls like green fingers. Inside, a single oil lamp burns. The Templars unbuckle their sword belts, lay the blades aside. The perfects sit cross-legged, hands open on their knees. A small fire is kindled, bread and olives are shared. The conversation, when it begins, is low, careful, in Occitan and Old French. They speak of routes, hidden passes through the Corbière, safe houses in Lombardy, ships that sail under no king's flag. They speak of secrets, a vault beneath the Temple Mount, a cave beneath Montségur. They speak of light and of the darkness that mistakes itself for God. Lie back against the warm stone. The sky above is thick with stars. The Milky Way, a river of light. You feel the parallel settle in your bones. 2 orders, both sworn to poverty, chastity, obedience. Yet obedience not to popes or kings, but to an inner flame. The Templars guarded pilgrims and relics. The Cathars guarded souls. Both were accused of spitting on the cross, of secret rites at midnight, of wealth hidden from the world. Both ended in fire, the Templars on the Ile de la Cité in 1314, the Cathars on the Pog in 1244. Yet the fire did not consume the pattern. Listen, the wind carries the faint sound of waves, the hush of a tide that erases footprints. Bertrand speaks once more, voice rough with fatigue. We carry the same wound, brother. The world wants our silence, but silence is our shield. The perfect beside him nods, places a hand over his heart. No oath is sworn, yet the bond is sealed. When dawn comes, they will part. The Templars east to their commanderies, the perfect south to the mountains. Their paths will not cross again, yet the echo will. Sleep drifts in on the salt wind. The lamp gutters low. Shadows dance on the ruined walls like memories of banners. You feel the 2 crosses, one carved in stone, one carried in silence, merge in the dark, becoming a single sign. The treasure they guarded was never gold. It was the space where spirit meets spirit, unmediated by priest or king. The mountain and the temple are the same refuge, seen from different centuries. Truth, like water, finds new channels, even when the wells are sealed. Let us glide forward through the centuries, past the last pyre and the last Templar's scream, into the hush of a candlelit chamber in 17th century Provence. You stand in a room lined with books bound in vellum and calf, their spines cracked like old riverbeds. The air is thick with beeswax, ink, and the faint sweetness of dried roses. A small circle of men and women sit around a table of polished walnut. Alchemists, poets, a runaway Jesuit, a countess in mourning black. They are not Cathars. The name is long forbidden. Yet the same light flickers in their eyes. Breathe. The candle flames tremble as one, as though sharing a single heartbeat. On the table lies an open manuscript, its pages illuminated with symbols. A rose unfolding within a circle. A serpent swallowing its tail, a mountain crowned with a star. The Jesuit, voice soft as falling ash, reads in Latin. The spirit descends into matter, is purified in the furnace, and ascends as gold. The alchemists nod. They know the furnace is not only lead and fire. It is the body, the world, the long siege of the soul. Step closer. The Countess lifts a small crystal vial filled with a liquid the color of dawn. She uncorks it. A scent of myrrh and wild thyme fills the room. From the Pyrenees, she whispers. A shepherd found the spring where the burned ones drank. No one asks how she knows. They pass the vial hand to hand, each inhaling the memory of water that once touched Cathar lips. The manuscript speaks of the great work, but the circle hears the consolamentum beneath the Latin. Purification is not chemistry. It is remembrance. Listen. Outside, rain taps the leaded windows like patient fingers. Inside, the Jesuit turns a page and reveals a woodcut, a fortress on a pog, its walls glowing faintly. Beneath it, a caption in Occitan, Montségur redivivus. The alchemists lean in. They have read Wolfram, have traced the Templar trails to the Languedoc caves. They know the treasure was never gold, but the living transmission. The breath passed from perfect to novice, from novice to dream. The Rose Croix, they call themselves. Yet the cross is the same silence. The rose, the same light. Walk to the window. The rain has softened the night. The garden below is a shimmer of silver and shadow. A single rose bush clings to the wall, blooming out of season, its petals the color of old blood. You feel the current move through time, from the pyre's ash to the shepherd's spring, from the spring to this vial, from the vial to the breath you now exhale. The Inquisition sealed the wells, burned the books, scattered the bones, but the water found new channels. In Masonic lodges, in quiet convents, in the margins of forbidden texts, lie down on the thick Persian rug before the hearth. The fire is low, embers pulsing like slow stars. The circle's voices fade to a murmur, then to silence. You feel the mountain beneath the house, though you're far from the Pyrenees. The same stone, the same memory. The alchemists will disperse at dawn, carrying the vial's scent in their sleeves, the manuscript symbols in their hearts. Some will be caught, some will vanish, some will plant the seed again in another century, another tongue. Sleep weaves its net, the candle gutters. The rosebush taps the window like a messenger. The current flows on, invisible, patient, eternal. The treasure was never lost. It was only waiting for new vessels, new names, new dreams. At midsummer sunrise, the mountain's shadow falls perfectly along the valley, as if guided by invisible hands. Let us stand barefoot on the eastern lip of Montségur at the first breath of dawn. the day the sun halts on the horizon before climbing. The air is thin, cool, scented with resin and the faint iron of dew on stone. You face the Pog, its limestone flanks pale rose, its ruined walls black against the light. The sky behind is a slow bloom of gold and violet. A single lark rises, its song a silver thread in the silence. Then the sun clears the ridge, and the shadow begins its deliberate journey. Breathe. The air tastes of altitude and ancient dust. The shadow stretches, long, precise, a dark blade laid across the land. It touches the river Lasset, follows its curve, crosses the old Roman road, and comes to rest on a low hill 3 kilometers away where a circle of standing stones waits, unseen by any but the initiated. You feel the alignment in your spine, a quiet click of recognition. This is no accident. The fortress was placed here by hands that measured more than distance. Walk the battlements as the light strengthens. The stones beneath your soles are warm, etched with faint grooves no mason admits to cutting. Run your fingers along the inner wall of the keep, a spiral, barely perceptible, turning sunwise. Another on the chapel arch, turning moonwise. The pentagonal courtyard is not random. Its angles catch the solstice sun at precise moments, throwing beams onto hidden marks. A star, a dove, a cup with no stem. The Cathars built nothing by chance. Every stone is a syllable in a sentence the mountain completes. Descend the path at noon, when the sun is a white coin overhead. The shadow has vanished, but the memory of it guides you. You reach the standing stones, 7 slabs of local granite, waist high, arranged in an elongated oval. At their center, a shallow basin carved in the living rock holds rainwater that never quite evaporates. Kneel. The water is mirror still. In it you see not the sky, but the Pog inverted, its walls glowing as they did on the morning of surrender. The reflection ripples, and for an instant the pyre burns again, silent, smokeless, eternal. Listen. The wind moves through the stones, a low humming that is almost speech. The cartographers were not surveyors with chains and theodolites. They were perfects, with fasting eyes and empty hands. They walked the land for years, barefoot, bowl in hand, feeling the earth's pulse beneath their soles. They noted where the first light touched, where the last shadow lingered, where the ley lines crossed like threads in a loom. Montségur was the needle's eye. The treasure they carried out was not only gnosis, it was the map itself, folded into the mountain's bones. Lie down in the grass between the stones. The earth is warm, fragrant with time. Above, a hawk circles, its shadow flickering across your closed eyelids. You feel the alignments extend. From this circle to the cave of Bethlehem, from the cave to a spring in the Corbière, from the spring to a rose window in Chartres. The map is not on parchment. It is in the land, in the light, in the slow turning of the year. The secret cartographers left no signature, only these quiet convergences for those who walk with open eyes. Sleep drifts in on the hawk's wings. The sun warms your skin. The stones breathe beneath you. Somewhere, a child will find this place centuries from now, trace the spiral with a finger, and feel the same click in the spine. The fortress is a map. The map is a refuge. The refuge is a question. If the earth itself is the parchment, what hand still writes upon it? Centuries later, dreamers and seekers returned, drawn not by faith but by a haunting. Let us descend the Pog at twilight, the year 1848. The sky is the color of bruised violets. The air carries the first chill of autumn and the scent of wood smoke from a distant village. You walk with a small caravan, a romantic poet in a threadbare velvet coat, a painter with a portable easel, a historian clutching a leather-bound notebook, and a local guide who speaks little but knows every stone. The path is steeper now, overgrown with bramble and thyme, yet the mountain welcomes them as it once welcomed the pure ones. Breathe. The air is crisp, laced with resin and the faint sweetness of overripe figs fallen from the courtyard tree. The poet pauses, presses a hand to the warm limestone. It sings, he murmurs, eyes closed. The others nod. They have read the old chronicles, the fragments of Inquisition records, the troubadour verses that survived in obscure manuscripts. They have come not to excavate, but to listen. The ruins above are silent to the casual eye, yet to them the walls hum with unfinished song. Reach the courtyard as the last light drains from the west. The fig tree stands black against the sky, its fruit split and fragrant. The painter sets up his easel. His brush moves in quick, reverent strokes, capturing the jagged silhouette, the play of shadow in the arrow slits. The historian kneels, scrapes lichen from a fallen block, and finds beneath it a faint carving, a dove in flight, wings spread over a cup. He traces it with a trembling finger. "Cathar," he whispers. The guide only smiles, as if he has known it all his life. Night falls. They light a small fire in the undercroft, careful not to disturb the stones. Bread, cheese, and a flask of rough, red wine are shared. The poet recites lines from Wolfram, voice soft, almost a lullaby. The painter sketches by firelight, faces glimpsed in the flames, eyes luminous, mouths curved in the same serene half-smile. The historian reads from his notebook, fragments of a 14th century chronicle. They walked into the fire singing, and the mountain kept their melody. The guide says nothing, only pokes the embers until sparks spiral upward like souls released. Lie down on a bedroll, spread over the warm flagstones. The sky above the open roof is thick with stars, the Milky Way, a river of light. You feel the centuries collapse. The pyre's heat still lingers in the stone. The hymn still vibrates in the air. The Romantics came for inspiration, the occultists for secrets, the pilgrims for healing. They all found the same thing, a silence that speaks. In the 20th century, hippies will camp here with guitars. In the 21st, meditators will sit in lotus beneath the fig tree. The mountain does not judge. It only remembers. Sleep drifts in on the scent of wood smoke. The fire settles to embers. The poet's voice fades to a murmur. Somewhere, a nightjar calls, liquid and mournful. You feel the haunting settle in your chest, light as ash, heavy as truth. The dreamers return again and again, drawn by a melody they cannot name, a light they cannot forget. In the shadow of another war, strange eyes turned once more toward the Pyrenees. Let us step into the chill of a 1937 spring dawn, high on the Pog where the snow has only just begun to retreat. You stand beside a man in a black leather coat, collar turned up against the wind. Otto Rahn, pale, intense, eyes the color of glacier ice. He carries a notebook bound in green oilskin and a small Leica camera slung across his shoulder. Behind him, 2 SS officers in field gray wait at a respectful distance, their breath pluming white. A local guide, uneasy, points to a faint carving on the keep's inner wall, a dove, wings spread. Ron kneels, traces it with gloved fingers, and whispers in German, Montségur. Breathe. The air is thin, sharp with pine and the mineral bite of thawing stone. Ron's breath smells faintly of coffee and sleepless nights. He has come for the Grail, or so he believes. The Cathar treasure that slipped away in 1244, the stone that feeds the pure. His book, Kreuzzug gegen den Gral, lies open in his mind like a map. He sees the Pog not as ruin, but as beacon, the last outpost of a primordial Aryan gnosis crushed by Rome. The mountain does not correct him. It only watches. Walk with him along the battlements. The sun climbs, gilding the limestone. Shadows retreat into cracks like guilty secrets. Ron photographs everything: the pentagonal courtyard, the fig tree's twisted trunk, the alignment of arrow slits with the rising sun. He measures angles with a brass clinometer, muttering about sacred geometry, about ley lines that connect Montségur to Externstein, to the Temple Mount. The SS officers take notes, their boots crunching on frost-rimed gravel. One of them, a captain with a dueling scar, asks, "Gold?" Ron laughs, a brittle sound. "Light," he says, "only light." Descend to the Pratdells, cremats at noon. The field is a gentle bowl of grass now, but Ron kneels where the pyre once stood. He presses his palm to the earth, closes his eyes. 225, he murmurs. They sang. The guide shifts uncomfortably. The SS officers exchange glances. Ron opens his notebook, sketches the outline of the pog against the sky, labels it Montsalvat Redivivus. He believes the treasure is still here, hidden in a cave, encoded in the stones, waiting for the right blood to claim it. The mountain keeps its silence. Night falls in a shepherd's hut lower down the slope. A fire of juniper crackles. The air is thick with resin and the faint sweetness of goat cheese. Ron reads aloud from Wolfram by lamplight, voice feverish. The SS captain pours schnapps into tin cups. Outside, the wind howls like a warning. Ron speaks of a new crusade, not against heretics, but for the Grail, for the pure light that will redeem the Reich. The guide slips away into the dark, crosses himself, and does not return. Lie down on a straw pallet beneath a wool blanket that smells of sheep and smoke. The hut creaks in the wind. The fire settles to embers. You feel the mountain's ancient patience, its refusal to be claimed. Ron will leave in the morning, his notebook fuller, his obsession sharper. He will die in 1939, officially suicide, unofficially a mystery. The SS will return in 1944, digging, measuring, photographing, finding nothing but stone and silence. The treasure was never theirs to take. Sleep drifts in on the scent of juniper. The wind carries a faint echo, not a hymn, not a command, only the mountain breathing. The mystics came with torches and theories, but the light they sought had already slipped through their fingers, weightless, eternal. Some who walk these slopes say they remember the fire, though centuries divide the skin they wear. Let us climb the pog at twilight, the hour when the sky forgets its color and the first bats stitch the air. The year is now, or any now. The mountain does not keep calendars. You walk alone, boots soft on the worn path, the scent of time rising with every step. The ruins appear suddenly, pale teeth against the darkening ridge. A cool wind slips through the arrow slits, carrying a faint, impossible warmth, like breath on a winter window. Breathe. The air is layered, pine resin, damp stone, and something else, an indefinable sweetness, like bread baking far away. You pause in the courtyard. The fig tree stands black and leafless, yet its silhouette feels familiar, as if you once leaned against its trunk in another life. A woman passes you on the path, modern hiking gear, eyes wide. She stops, presses a hand to her chest. "I was here," she whispers, voice trembling. "I smelled the smoke." She hurries on, shaken. You understand. The mountain speaks in pulses, not words. Walk to the chapel niche. A single candle stub burns, though no one admits to lighting it. The flame is steady, unnatural. Kneel. The stone floor is warm beneath your knees. Close your eyes. The darkness behind your lids blooms orange, then white. You hear it. The low murmur of Occitan, the rustle of wool robes, the soft intake of breath before the hymn begins. Your lungs fill with the scent of burning pine and something sweeter, indefinable. Your skin prickles, though the night is mild. A child's voice, high and clear, rises above the rest, then is cut off. The silence that follows is absolute. Open your eyes. The candle is still burning, yet the wax has not melted. You stand, legs unsteady. Outside, the stars are sharp, merciless. You descend to the Prat Del's cremats. The grass is silver with dew. The field is a perfect circle, as though no foot has ever disturbed it. Lie down in the center. The earth is warm, pulsing faintly. You feel the ash beneath the soil, fine as talc, still holding the memory of heat. A nightjar calls once, then is silent. The wind shifts, and for an instant you smell lavender, though none grows here. Listen. The mountain exhales. In that breath, you hear footsteps, bare, deliberate, moving toward the pyre. You see them in the mind's eye. A young woman tucking a sprig behind her ear, an old man humming, a child clutching a rag doll. They do not look afraid. They look homeward. The vision fades, yet the warmth remains, pooled in your chest like a coal. You have never worn their robes, never spoken their prayers, yet the memory is in your blood, passed down through dream and silence, through the slow turning of the world. Sleep drifts in on moth wings. The stars wheel overhead. The mountain breeze beneath you. Somewhere, a woman wakes in a city apartment, heart racing, the taste of smoke on her tongue. A boy in a village school draws a fortress on a pog without knowing why. The blood remembers, the mountain remembers. The fire was never extinguished, it only changed form. They spoke of a gospel not written in ink, but in breath and being. Let us slip into the hush of a moonless night, the hour when even the wind forgets to speak. You're inside a small cave, high on the eastern flank of the Pog, a place no map records. The air is still, cool, scented with myrrh and the faint mineral breath of deep stone. A single oil lamp burns low, its flame a steady heart in the dark. Around it sit 5 figures, robed in undyed wool, faces luminous with fasting. They are the last guardians of a text that was never written. Breathe. The air tastes of silence and something older, like bread left on an altar. One of the 5, an elder with eyes the color of river stone, lifts a hand. The others lean in. No parchment is produced, no stylus. Instead, the elder begins to speak. Voice soft as falling ash. In the beginning was the light, and the light was imprisoned. The words are familiar, yet they are not. They are the gospel of love, the book of the 2 principles, the secret supper, names given later by those who hunted them. Here, it has no name. It is simply the breath between souls. Listen. The elder's voice weaves a story not of miracles or kings, but of recognition. A woman at a well who sees her own face in the water and remembers she is not the bucket. A child who lays a hand on a leper and feels the same spark in both. A fisherman who casts his net and draws up a single star. The others nod, eyes closed, as though seeing the scenes unfold on the inside of their lids. When the elder pauses, another continues, seamlessly, the same voice in a different throat. The gospel is not a text. It is a transmission, passed hand to hand, heart to heart, like a flame that never touches the wick. Walk the narrow passage deeper into the cave. The lamp is left behind. The darkness is absolute, yet you do not stumble. The walls brush your shoulders, cool, smooth, guiding. You feel the weight of centuries in the stone, the weight of every mouth that has spoken these words and then been silenced. The Inquisition burned books, but it could not burn breath. The gospel survived in the pause between heartbeats, in the space where the soul meets itself. Kneel in a small chamber where the air is warmer, almost womb-like. The five have followed, silent. One of them, a young woman with a voice like water over pebbles, begins to sing. No words, only a melody that rises and falls like breathing. The others join, their voices braiding into a single chord. The sound fills the cave, bounces off the walls, and returns transformed, richer, older. You feel it in your bones. This is the gospel, the silent scripture, the love that needs no ink. Lie down on the cool sand. The song settles into a low hum, then fades to silence. The lamp is extinguished. The darkness is complete, yet you're not afraid. You feel the five settle around you, their breathing synchronized with yours. In the hush, the gospel speaks directly to the blood. You are the light. You are the prison. You are the key. The words are not heard. They are remembered. Sleep drifts in on the wings of the song. The cave breathes with you, slow and ancient. Somewhere, a child will wake centuries from now, with the melody on her tongue, though no one taught it to her. The gospel was never lost. It was only waiting for the right silence to be born again. In the end, all gold tarnishes, but light only hides. Let us return to the courtyard at the stillest hour before dawn, when the sky is neither night nor day, but a deep indigo hush. You stand barefoot on the flagstones, cool and smooth as river-polished bone. The fig tree looms above, its leaves black lace against the fading stars. No wind stirs, no bird calls, only the mountain breathing, slow, patient, eternal. You kneel and press your palm to the stone. It is warm, as though the pyre's memory has seeped downward and settled here, a coal at the heart of the world. Breathe. The air is thin, scented with thyme and the faint sweetness of fig sap. Beneath your hand, the stone pulses faintly, not with heat, but with presence. You feel it. The light that walked into the flames did not vanish. It sank. It pooled in the cracks, soaked into the roots of the tree, filtered through limestone into hidden springs. The treasure was never carried away in a pouch or a box. It was released, diffused, made immanent. Every stone of Montségur is now a lamp with no wick. Walk the inner wall, fingers trailing the rough blocks. Each one holds a fragment, a whispered consolamentum, a child's laugh, the hush before the hymn. The light is not above or beyond. It is here, in the grit beneath your nails, in the dew that beads on the fig leaves, in the silence that answers your heartbeat. The Cathars knew this. They did not seek enlightenment in distant heavens. They remembered it in the marrow, in the space between atoms, in the pause where the world forgets to be solid. Sit beneath the fig tree. The earth is soft, fragrant. Lean back against the trunk. Its bark is rough, alive, etched with the scars of centuries. Close your eyes. The darkness behind your lids is not empty. It is luminous, a slow unfurling of gold. You see them, the perfects in their circle, hands joined, eyes closed, faces radiant. They are not gone. They are the light beneath the stone, the spark in every cell, the silence that holds the world together. The pyre was not an end. It was a scattering, a seeding of the dark with stars. Listen. The first bird begins, tentative, then sure. The sky pales to pearl. You feel the mountains stir, the slow turning of the earth toward the sun. The light rises, not from the horizon but from within, from the stones, from the roots, from your own chest. It has always been here, waiting for the moment you remember to look down instead of up. Lie back on the warm earth. The fig tree's shadow stretches across you. A dark wing, Sleep drifts in on the wings of the bird's song. The mountain cradles you, patient as ever. The treasure was never meant to be found. It was meant to be remembered, in the hush before waking, when the soul is closest to its source. Today the fortress is only stone, yet at dawn the same light crowns its peak. Let us stand once more on the eastern battlement, the present day, the hour when the sun first kisses the pog. You have climbed before the tourists, before the guides, before the day's small noises begin. The air is crisp, tasting of pine and cold iron, and the sky is a bowl of pale rose. The ruins around you are quiet, almost shy, their broken walls softened by lichen and the slow patience of centuries. The fig tree in the courtyard is heavy with fruit, dark globes split open by ripeness, their scent drifting upward like incense. Breathe. The mountain exhales with you, a slow, deliberate rhythm. Below, the valley is still asleep, mist pooling in the folds like milk in a bowl. A single raven lifts from the keep, circles once, and vanishes south. You feel the hush that belongs only to places that have seen too much and yet remain. The stones beneath your bare feet are warm, as though the pyre's memory has settled into their atoms and refuses to cool. Walk the circuit of the walls. The sun climbs, gilding the limestone until it glows like warm honey. Each arrow slit frames a slice of sky, each fallen block a resting place for light. At the southern corner, a small plaque has been set into the stone by quiet hands. Ici, le 16 mars 1944, 225, Cathars choisirent le feu plutôt que la trahison. No flowers, no candles, only the words and the wind. Yet every year on the anniversary, strangers appear, hikers, meditators, locals who say nothing, leave a sprig of lavender, and sit in silence until sunset. The mountain accepts the offering without comment. Descend to the Prat dels Cremats. The field is a perfect circle of grass, greener here than anywhere else, as though the ash still feeds it. A low stone marker stands at the center, no larger than a bread loaf, its surface worn smooth by countless palms. Kneel. The earth is warm, soft, alive. You press your forehead to the marker. For an instant, the hymn rises, not heard, but felt. A vibration in the bones, a chord struck on strings no hand can see. The flame that burned here never went out. It only changed form, became grass, became light, became the quiet courage of those who return. Lie back in the grass. The sky is flawless now, the sun a white coin. Somewhere, a bell rings in the village below, a single note that travels upward and settles in the stones like a bird. You feel the mountain's heartbeat, steady, unhurried. Pilgrims come with cameras and questions. Children come with picnics and laughter. Lovers come to carve their initials in the fig tree's bark. All are welcomed, all leave lighter. The fortress is only stone, yet it is also a doorway, open at dawn, open at dusk, open in the hush between heartbeats. Sleep drifts in on the scent of warm grass and distant wood smoke. The sun climbs higher. The light crowns the peak, the same light that crowned it in 1244, the same light that will crown it tomorrow. The flame is eternal, not because it burns, but because it remembers. The story fades, but the silence it leaves behind still hums with meaning. Let us linger one last time on the pog at the edge of night, when the sun has slipped behind the western ridge and the sky is a deep indigo bowl. You stand alone in the courtyard, the fig tree a black silhouette against the first faint stars. The stones beneath your bare feet have cooled, yet they hold the day's warmth like a secret. No wind stirs, no bird calls. Only the mountain breathing, slow and ancient, and the soft hush of your own heart learning to listen. Breathe. The air is cool, scented with time. resin, and the faint sweetness of overripe figs. You feel the centuries settle around you like a cloak, not heavy, but present. The pyre, the hymn, the four shadows, the silent gospel, the light beneath the stone, they are all here, folded into the cracks, into the roots, into the space between your thoughts. The story is finished, yet it has only begun. It lives in the pause after the last word, in the hush that follows the final note. Walk the battlements one last time. The stars are thick now, the Milky Way a river of light overhead. You lean against the broken wall and look down into the valley. Lights flicker in the villages below, modern, electric, yet echoing the hearths of 1240. Somewhere, a child is learning a lullaby that carries the old melody. Somewhere, a hiker is pausing at the spring, feeling the same click in the spine. The mountain keeps the thread, passes it hand to hand, heart to heart, without announcement. Sit beneath the fig tree. The earth is soft, fragrant. Lean back against the trunk. Its bark is rough, alive, etched with initials from every century. Close your eyes. The darkness behind your lids is luminous, a slow unfurling of gold. You see them, the perfects walking into the flame, the four shadows descending, the romantics with their candles, the mystics with their maps, the pilgrims with their silence. They are not gone. They are the light that never left, the silence that never broke. Listen. The mountain exhales. In that breath you hear the hymn, faint but unbroken, rising from the stones, from the grass, from the roots of the tree. It is not a song of ending, it is a song of return. The fire was never about destruction, it was about release. The faith was never about dogma, it was about remembrance. The treasure was never an object, it was the space where soul meets soul, unmediated, eternal. Sleep drifts in on the wings of the night. The stars wheel overhead. The mountain cradles you. You feel the hush deepen, the silence widen, until it holds everything, the pyre, the prayer, the pause, the promise. The story fades, yet the silence hums. It hums in your blood, in the fig tree's roots, in the light that crowns the peak at dawn. It hums in the moment before waking, when the soul is closest to its source,